Sometimes in January you get warm Indian summer days. This year, one of those days hit 70 degrees. A delight, to be sure, but also one you probably don't want to think too hard about. Anyways, for once, I lucked out, and the weather happened to arrive just in time for an Airhead Tech Day up in Maryland. For those uninitiated, a Tech Day is an Airheads Beamer Club day to get together and work on motorcycle projects in a shared space with shared tools, organized by a member of the club. It gives folks a chance to not only access specialty tools to do major work themselves without having to buy them, but it also gives you access to a wealth of experience from other wrenches and the camaraderie of struggling together to get some stubborn bolt free or whatnot. I headed out after work on a Friday afternoon to head up to Maryland to change the fork oil and seals in my front suspension, and just to hang out with the other guys working on their machines.
Nope, turning the fuel on would help.
The ride-up was fairly uneventful except for the unseasonal warmth. I had summer gloves on, it was so warm. I got out of DC, skipped up the parkway, spent a bit of time on the highway to get up to State Road 27, which then meandered north for another hour or so to get into Westminster, Maryland. By the time I got in, it was dark, but Will, the weekend's organizer, was there to welcome me into the garage.
Normally when I'm lane splitting, if the handlebars fit, the panniers fit. I've yet to put a hole in someone's car just yet. Give me no push there, would you? There we go, perfect.
How are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
We went ahead and started in on a little bit of work that evening just to get prepped for the next day. My forks have an Allen bolt at the bottom that you have to break loose to get the lowers off, and keeping the sliders in place to actually get torque on the bolt was a bit of a challenge. Normally, you'd take the whole thing off and just put it in a vise, but we wanted to leave the forks in the triple tree to save time, so we ended up rigging up this scenario with some Boy Scout knot tying skills.
Some real ingenuity here.
Once we got them out, I was kind of horrified to see the color of the oil, or should I say colors. One side was brown, and the other one was this kind of aquamarine-y green color. At this stage, it was getting a little late, so we left the pan underneath for the rest of the oil to drip and dribble overnight, and we retired for the evening. But not before having a look at the project bike that Will recently acquired for a pittance, including some real previous owner specials like these turn signals, and this kill switch that is wired to a doorbell. a doorbell switch, I don't know. What horrors await in those electricals, I can only imagine. In the morning, we set up for other folks to arrive for the day, getting coffee going in the percolator, and Will got a brisket going in the smoker for lunch. People started to arrive and set off on their jobs for the day, one person upgrading their front suspension with new progressive springs and fresh parts, another rebuilding a petcock from a /6, and another group working on replacing the steering head bearings in yet another project bike on its way to a new life. Aside from those working, there was, as always, a healthy crowd of onlookers happy to be just around for the hustle and bustle and to offer advice, be it solicited or otherwise. Lunch included the aforementioned brisket, plus pulled pork, and even a 2-tier cake that one of Will's kids had made as part of a baking class they were taking, so everyone was well nourished, both in body and mind.
It's a good pup.
I ended up heading out in the afternoon because I needed to get back home for something in the evening, so after my bike was all buttoned up and I'd taken a quick spin around the neighborhood to make sure everything felt alright, I geared up and hit the road.
Alrighty.
It was definitely cooler on the Saturday than it was the day before, but certainly still acceptable riding weather. I had my heated vest too, so I was content. I realized not too far down the road that one mistake I had made was the rotation angle of my handlebars was slightly off. I had moved them just a little bit to get access to the fill port at the top of my forks, but when I tightened them up again, I didn't check the angle properly, and now I couldn't really see through my mirror as well. So I pulled off the side of the road at a little community center and went about readjusting them so I could properly see behind me as a kid on an electric dirt bike whipped around me, doing circles in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Back on the road, I plodded through the last miles home, enjoying the gentle curves of State Road 27, enjoying the packed miles of 270 considerably less, and flying the last few miles under the trees of the parkway. Well, I probably could have managed to do all this work I did this weekend at home in the garage. It's always nice to have a community of folks around who've already done the work and know how to go about it. Having access to this group of riders has prevented me from having to learn plenty of things the hard way, and it has really enriched the experience of being part of the motorcycle community. Sometimes the world can feel increasingly atomized, but groups like this are a nice antidote to that. So if you're on an Airhead and you haven't joined the club, you probably should. It unlocks a whole new group of friends and access to a wealth of knowledge and camaraderie along the way.